One of the greatest things about PUBG Mobile is showing off your vertical. Why don't you give us a look at your vert, buddy? How high can you get up? Woo-hoo-hoo! Well, hello there, humans, hippies, earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too. I'm Bushka, and thank you so much for joining me here today on the PUBG Mobile official channel. Today I'm going to be giving you 10 hot tips from looting to late game, and I'm also going to be doing it with a hand cam because every time I post one of these things, some clown comes in and tells me that I'm using an emulator. So there you go, it's a hand cam. Take that. Now we're going to talk about obvious things. We're going to talk about things that are a little less obvious, but they're all going to have a hand cam in it. So isn't that a beautiful time to be alive? The first thing we're going to touch on really is cars. We're going to talk about cars. And there is no denying that cars are indeed clutch. They're specifically good on maps like Miramar and Vikendi, where you run into enormous issues with wide open spaces and getting stuck in areas where there's just no cover at the end of the game. And you can see here, I get singled out. Swiss manages to get up the top, but there's only one rock there. There's not a lot of space. I jump in the car, hightail it over here, and the car does exactly what we brought it along for. It gets me out of trouble there. I'm able to med up, get healthy again, and then we can work things from there. Now, the thing that we're doing next is also another key point that you need to start putting into your gameplay. You can use knocks to create space. You don't just have to use knocks and then thirst people up, because Swiss at the moment is at the top of this hill. My good mate Swiss Cheezel, he's doing really hard yards up there, fighting against a whole squad that's on the top of the hill, but he can't hold out forever. So I knock a couple of people who were into me down there earlier that forced me to retreat into the vehicle, jump back in, hightail it up the top of the mountain, and give Swiss a little bit of a breather with the big V8, get out of there, and we both lived to fight on. We ended up coming third in this one, a bit disappointing, but we probably would have come about 7th if we hadn't have actually managed to use the vehicle. So cars are clutch, use them, and use knocks to create a little bit of space for you and your teammates. Next, for my third point, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to talk about auto pickup. Auto pickup wins hot drops. It really does, because if you haven't configured auto pickup, that's just one more thing that you've got to do. And when you're dropping someone like Georgia Polkates or Sanoff Boot Camp, you really don't have time to screw around making sure that you got all that ammo, that you picked up all the weapons that were available. Auto pickup will just take care of one thing that you don't need on your mind for you. And it doesn't even have to be for everything. You can set auto pickup up to, just pick up ammo and primary weapons for you. You don't have to do med kits. You don't have to do anything like that. I mean, you drop boot camp, there's like 4 different squads coming in with you. You're all going to the roof. There's just madness and mayhem. And you just run over the gun and start pressing a button. You don't even have to worry about grabbing that ammo. Auto pickup did it for you. You get 2 knocks straight away. You've reloaded. You're downstairs and you're fighting. And that's what you really want to be doing. It's very, very important that you enable this if you want to win these hot drops. Number 4, create good angles. This is kind of self-evident, but it's something a lot of people fail at miserably. If you are coming into an engagement and you have a squad mate, don't just run in together in single file. Get some width, get some space. People tend to tunnel into one specific target. In this case, those guys were looking at Chris Cheezel down there on my right, and they completely lost track of the fact that I was up here on the left. Swiss looked like a very useful target. So remember, create some space. Loot for the start, don't loot for the finish. This sounds kind of obvious, but it's not. People do this all the time. I kill people, go and look in their box, and they've got like an AKM and 12 rounds of ammunition. Like it's terrible to lose a game because you are so worried about having an M416 and a Kar 98. Clear everyone at Georgia Pole crates, win Georgia Pole crates, and then worry about the loot. Until then, hang on to the guns that you're going to use in close quarters combat. Don't go grabbing an M24 when you land at boot camp. You're just asking to get wrecked. Use auto weapons for auto weapons situations. Smoke. Now, there's a bloke back there who has been camping out Georgia Pole crates. And I'm exiting the crates. I looked for him, couldn't find him. It was the partner of the bloke that I just looted all his gear off. He's 2.5 kilometers away from the freaking zone line. Like, in a horrible situation. And yet he's going to sit there and just happily die as long as he gets me first. Right, well, I've got some smoke. What you can do with smoke is not just use it to run away, you can peek the edges of smoke, and it is exceptionally hard, especially if you are tunneling in on someone who is in smoke on either side of it, because smoke creates a very wide field of view if they've got like a 6 times or an 8 times scope, and you can just loiter on the edges of it and use it to confuse and confound while you get shots off. It's one thing that I don't have done to me very often, but something that I use all the time. It is an offensive weapon. It is not just for running away. So that's smoke. This is something that I think especially newer players need to understand. You don't need to take every fight. There's guys down there who are shooting at Swiss Cheesel and I, and they're like 100 meters underneath us, looking up a mountain, which we can third-party peek over the edge of. And, I mean, we get to pick and choose when we pop out and fire. So when we see them, we fire at them. And they're just sitting down there, like, waiting to get knocked. When you're in that kind of a situation, just leave. You don't have to do anything. You are not forced to take every engagement. If the engagement looks really bad, walk away from it and find one that suits you better. Next up is communicating final circle. This is me and Deadboot. Deadboot and I. Deadboot is a good amigo of mine. The Allure of Jaipur, I call him. He's a great bloke. And Deadboot and I are going to come through this final circle just with really calm, solid comms. Have a listen, just for an example for you.
And there's one more above him.
Yeah, he's flanking up. I saw someone to our northeast, I think. There's a guy up there now. Got him. Alright, Philip is down. That must have been his partner. On me, Boot. Footsteps on me.
Yeah, there's a guy
Enemies
there.
ahead.
Yeah.
One more. Same rock.
Nice, Boot. Nice. Very cool, very calm, nothing special, just giving each other enough info to get through that final circle. Now, I want to give you one more not so normal tip here. Work on your movement, and you can do this when you're looting. If you ever drop somewhere that's not very hot, run around in the buildings and focus on being as smooth as you can as you move through the doors and make decisions over what you've got. And you can see my hand cam down there on the right-hand side of the map, on the right-hand side of the screen, just how effective you can be if you really focus, and how fast you can go through houses, get out windows, loot, move to the next house. It makes you into a better player. It really, really does. And I've seen improvement in my movement since I started doing this a couple of weeks back. Chasing cars is dodgy. Yeah, be very, very careful about this. If you're chasing a car and they go over the top of a hill, they are very likely to stop. And as you push on up past them to try and get the kill, you're like, oh, damn, that's really not worked out for me, and I'm just going to get my clock cleaned. So that's a little one. So because it's a little one, I'll give you a big one to finish. And this is probably the most important one of all these tips if you're a newer player, and even if you're an older player. I've been playing since Season 1, man. I got ace in Season 2. Like, I still do stupid things like this. Knocks can't kill you. If you are final circle, you're assaulting the only house left in the entire map that's outside the blue, and there are 3 people from a squad in there all hanging out waiting for you. You do a great entry in the UAZ, you clear the first guy in there, you know that knock is going to force them to try and get him up. What happens here? I thirst the knock. I go outside, I make a great call, I blow up my own UAZ to knock the guy that is right there. So that's 2 knocks, 1 guy upstairs. Watch me thirst this knock. Full reload, thirst the knock, go for a reload. Guy jumps out the window, comes out. I'm not ready for him. Dead. Don't thirst, don't thirst, don't thirst. That's your public service announcement. I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to see me more regularly, I've got my own YouTube channel, The Bushka. Go and check that out. We stream, we jump, we rave, we rant. And yeah, look after yourselves. Stay safe in the battlefield. Be nice to your mum. Eat your veggies. And bye for now.